Season kozu alatinda, season konza jalo. Masim tumiseni ngazikati zoke.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. Welcome back to another episode of Can You Handle the Truth? And so in the last episode, we proved that there is only one true God, and that God is the creator of this universe. And so in this episode today, what we wanted to go through is that, once we have proven all of this, we have proven God's existence and who He is and how He is one and unique. Now we come to the question of why He created this universe. Why did God create this massive universe? And what is the purpose of my life? God created me. For what purpose? What does He want me to do? And so when human beings come across footprints on the beach, if you went to the beach and you saw some footprints, you would immediately conclude that someone walked by here, a human being, because you see the footprint is that of a human being. And you accept that. Now, what if someone said to you that, no, I don't accept that. Rather, waves came and washed by the sand and created that footprint. That's how these footprints came into existence. No one out of his right mind would believe that. So similarly, we say that God created us, and we didn't come about just by chance, and that God created us for a purpose. And so since, purposeful creation and action is something natural to the human being, that human beings, we don't do things without a purpose. And so, therefore, we conclude that God, since He is the all-intelligent, the supreme being who created us, He must have done so for a specific purpose. Therefore, human beings need to know that purpose. We need to search for that purpose behind our existence in order to make this life purposeful and ultimately beneficial for ourselves. And so, to answer the question, why did God create human beings? First, we have to determine the angle from which this question is being asked. And so I say that from the point of view of God Himself, it would mean what caused God to create human beings. From the point of view of God, what caused Him to create us? As for from the human perspective, we say that it would mean for what purpose did God create us? And I mention this very, very important point, because many people confuse the two. And so when we ask them, what is the purpose of your creation? Why were you created? And they don't have an answer, and then we give them the answer. They say, what caused God to create us for that purpose? And so we say, as for the question of why did God create man? What caused Him to create human beings? We say that, as we mentioned previously, the very nature of God, His uniqueness, means that He does things out of His own free will. Whatever He does, whether it be creating us or anything else, He does it because of His divine will, without any external factors influencing Him. So nothing caused God to create us. It was His will. He decided to create, and so He created. And so we as human beings simply need to submit to that. We shouldn't ask what caused God to create, because nothing influences God. He is self-sufficient. He is on His own. Nothing influences His decisions. And so in the Quran, God says, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He is not questioned about what He does, rather they will be questioned. And so we human beings will be questioned by God in the next life. And so it doesn't make sense. Why should we be objecting to God and asking, why does God do this and why does He do that? But having said that, we know that God did create us based on his ultimate wisdom. That his will, his divine will, which caused him to create us, not any external factors, that was based on his ultimate wisdom. Meaning that he did it for a purpose. And not without any purpose. Not just for mere play, without any aim, without any purpose. Because that would go contrary to God's very nature of being supreme, of being the supreme and intelligent and wise being. Because wise beings, intelligent beings, don't do things aimlessly. They don't do anything without a purpose. And so this is something that has been mentioned also in the Quran, where God says, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاءَ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا لَاعِبِينَ. He says, we did not create the heavens and the earth and everything that is between them out of mere play. And also God says, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاءَ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا بَاطِلًا. We did not create the heavens and the earth and what is in between them without a purpose. And so now that we have concluded that God created us and this entire creation for a purpose, for a greater purpose, naturally the next question that comes to your mind is, what is that purpose? What is the purpose of life? Why did God create me and you? And so think about it. Use your brain. Open your mind. Think about it. Is our purpose in life simply to eat, to drink, to sleep, to have, relations with women, to acquire some material things in this life and enjoy ourselves? And so we live and then we die and that's it. This is our life? Is it wise to simply create the human being with this intelligence simply for that purpose? And so think about it. Why are we born? What is the objective of our existence? And what is the wisdom behind the creation of man and this universe? Ponder over these questions. And so this is perhaps the most important question that has ever been asked over the ages. And so throughout the ages, philosophers and others have considered it to be the most fundamental question. And so scientists, historians, writers, psychologists, and even the average human being have all wrestled with this all-important question about the point of their life. And so the sad reality is that when it comes to the purpose of life, this big question, people are confused. And so we see that everyone has different answers. And so if you were to ask a teenager, what is the purpose of your life? He'll say, to enjoy myself. But if you were to ask a middle-aged man, let's say a professional, he'll say, I live so that I could save enough money to have a comfortable retirement. And if you were to ask an old man, let's say a 60-year-old man, 70-year-old man, what is the purpose of your life? He'll say, all my life I've been asking myself that question. And so if there is a purpose, I don't care anymore because I haven't found it. But the most common answer that you'll get, regardless of age group, is, I simply don't know. I don't know, why am I here? What is the purpose behind my existence? And so if we were created by a creator, and we definitely were, as we have already explained and gone through, then surely that creator must have a reason, a purpose in creating us. Thus, it is important for each and every single one of us, me and you, every single human being, to seek to know God's purpose behind our existence. And then, after coming to realize this purpose, we can either choose to live in harmony with it or not. However, here we ask a very important question, and that is it possible for us to know what is expected from us, to know our purpose of life, simply based on our own perceptions, our own opinions, without any communication from God? Is it logical to think that God created us and then left us to decide on our own what is our purpose in this life? without God revealing that purpose to us. And so we say that it is natural that God, our Creator, would have informed us. He would have communicated with us and told us of this great purpose behind why He created us, especially since He expects us to fulfill that purpose. We'll take a short break and be right back after this. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the big question of the purpose of life. That if God created us, then why did He create us? And we mentioned how God definitely created us for a purpose, and that He did not merely create us without any purpose. But the reality is that if God created us for a purpose, He did not leave us to decide that purpose on our own. He didn't just create us and then leave us in this world to roam around and search for that answer without Him telling us what the purpose of our creation is. And so the reality is that this is not a topic for human speculation, because our own human guesswork, what is the purpose of life, it cannot possibly produce the entire truth regarding this. How can that be the case when, human beings cannot even decide or properly understand their own brains, their own minds, and its functions? So how on earth can we understand the purpose of our life? And so humans, most often they turn to other humans when they search for this answer of the purpose of life. However, the only place that clear and precise answers to these questions can be found is in the revelation of God. And so God did not leave us just like that in this world to search for those answers on our own. He revealed His message, and this is from the very nature of God, that He would not create us without sending us a message. And so He created us. He sent His message through those He chose from mankind, from human beings, as messengers to us. And He revealed His message, His scripture, for us. And so the answer to this question of why did God create us, it is in that message. It is in that divine revelation. And it was necessary that God reveals that purpose, the purpose behind our creation, through His prophets. Why? Because human beings are not capable of arriving at the correct answers on their own. All of the prophets of God taught their followers the same purpose of life. And so, coming to the answer to this big question of the purpose of life, I say that the answer is in those divine scriptures. And that answer is that the purpose of life is that God created us to worship Him. And so, the purpose of creation for all men and all women that ever existed from the beginning of time until today and until the end of times has always been one: to recognize God, to know God, and then to worship God. And this is something that God has told us in His final scripture, His final revelation to mankind in the Quran. And so He said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created mankind, nor the jinn, the spirits, except for one purpose, and that is to worship me. And so that, in a nutshell, is the purpose of this life. The purpose of life is to recognize the Creator, to acknowledge His existence, to recognize Him, and then to surrender to Him, to submit to Him, to obey Him, to worship Him, to follow the commandments, the laws that He has decided for us. This is our purpose in life. But you may be wondering, how is it possible that this is the truth regarding the purpose of life when all human beings, or most human beings, are not fulfilling that purpose of which they were created for. And so if something was created for a specific purpose, it should be fulfilling that purpose. And so the answer is that this is the very reason why you'll find most people, and perhaps you are one of them, who has been searching for the purpose of life. Searching for that answer that will bring tranquility to their hearts. They've been looking and searching for so long for that thing that is missing in their souls. And so, as mentioned previously, the Quran teaches us that every single human being is born with the fitrah, the natural inclination to recognize God, to recognize His oneness, and then to worship Him as such. And so, a child is born with the natural belief in the oneness of God. And so as a result, every single person, he carries this belief in his heart, the oneness of God, and it lies deeply within us. However, many times, it becomes buried under layers of negligence, and it becomes dampened by social conditioning. And so, if that child was to be left alone, if he was to be left alone without any external factors influencing that innate nature, then he would grow up conscious of God, conscious of the oneness of God, recognizing God, conscious of that single one creator. And so that is the reality. But most children in the world today, they become affected by these external factors. And this is something that our Prophet Muhammad, the final and last prophet that God has sent to us, this is what he actually mentioned. And so he said that each and every single child is born upon the fitrah, the natural inclination, that innate nature of recognizing God and worshiping God. However, he goes on to say, however, his parents change him. His parents make him a Jew, or his parents make him a Christian. And so just as the child's body, it submits to physical laws. For example, every single human being submits to the law of gravity. And these laws of physics are God's laws that He has set in nature. Similarly, the child's soul, it submits naturally to the fact that God is its creator. And He is the one and only creator of him. However, what happens is his parents, they condition him to follow their own way, to follow what they want him to follow. And so the child, he's not able to go against, mentally, he's not capable of going against what his parents are conditioning him into becoming. And so we say that the religion which this child follows at this particular stage is one of custom and upbringing. And God does not hold him account for this religion that he is being forced to adopt. However, when the child matures, when every single human being matures and is no longer a child, rather he can think for himself, this is when we say that he must follow the truth. He must search for the truth and accept it. And, it will no longer be accepted from him that, this is what I was brought up with. Rather, he makes his own decisions, just like he makes his own decisions in everything else in life, and not what his parents are, telling him to choose. Similarly, he should choose this great path in life, the path of belief. What do I believe in regarding God and regarding my life and how I shall live it? And so, as adults, people must now struggle. They must struggle between their natural disposition that God created within them and their desires and what they were brought up with in order to truly fulfill their purpose behind their creation. However, after having said all of this, you may be objecting and saying that this is what you claim, This is what you claim regarding our purpose in life. That, God created us to recognize Him, to worship Him, and you're saying that your evidence is in the scriptures. But I don't believe in these scriptures. You may be wondering, I don't believe in these books, these fairy tales. They were the work of human beings. They are not the words. Fine. Let us look at a logical argument regarding this purpose being the purpose of life. Think about it. Look around you. Look around you in this world that you live in. Unless you live in a cave, you are surrounded by things that we human beings have manufactured, that we human beings have made with our own hands. Now, the question is, why did we make these things? Why did we manufacture these things? Cars, aeroplanes, cell phones, televisions, and everything else that we have created with our own hands. The answer is, of course, so that we human beings can use these things to function for us. And so each one of these things that we have created, that we have manufactured, they exist for a purpose, and that purpose is to serve us human beings. We human beings manufactured them for a function, for a purpose, to serve us. And so we created cars so that we could travel. We created, manufactured aeroplanes so that we could travel long distances. We created telephones so that we could communicate. And so we manufactured all of these things for a specific purpose. And all of these purposes and objectives eventually go back to us, to serve us. And so, by extension, why did God make us? Why did He create us, if not to serve Him? Why did He create us, if not to serve Him? So just like we make things in this world to serve us, God also created us in this world to serve Him. With that, we come to the end of this episode, and we will see you again on another episode of Can You Handle the Truth very soon. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Season comes to a Latina.